All right, welcome again, everyone, and thank you guys for joining us tonight for our Tiger Family Talks. Tonight, our webinar is going to focus on sharing wisdom from the den for our first-year Tiger families. It's going to be coming straight from our current parents about things that they wish they knew before their Tigers started their journey here at LSU. So welcome again. My name is Allie McManus, and I have the privilege of serving our Tiger families as our coordinator for LSU Parent and Family programs. I'm very excited about tonight's webinar and all the wisdom that's going to be shared with you all from our Tiger families. We want you to be confident and prepared for the road ahead. So thank you guys once again for being here tonight. Before we get onto the panel, I do want to share a few notes with you all just to let you know how things are going to work tonight for our webinar. So since this is a Zoom webinar, everyone is automatically on mute and we cannot see your screens. But there are going to be two important features that you'll get to use throughout the panel to interact with our panelists. The first one is going to be our chat feature. It looks like a bunch of you have already figured out where to find it and how to use it, but this is going to be a great place for you to provide a quick comment, maybe drop an emoji in the chat, but we want to make sure that you are sending it to all panelists and all attendees so that way everyone can see what you're sharing. You can also use the Q&A feature to submit questions to our office and to our panelists to answer during the live Q&A portion. That's going to happen in just a few moments. So this webinar is also being recorded. That way we can share it with you all in a few days in case you miss anything or you want to check back on the webinar. If you have any questions that are unrelated to tonight's topic, we still want to help you out and assist you with anything that you may need help with. So you can go ahead and email our office at lsufamily@lsu.edu for any assistance that you may need. So how the panel is going to work tonight is that I have a few prepared questions for our panelists, and then we're going to open it up to all of you to ask any questions that you have for our panelists. And this is where you can use the Q&A function to submit questions to them that we can answer. So my colleague Lindsay is also going to be helping me out in the chat with answering any of the questions that you have and connecting with you all. All right, so before we get onto it, I want to jump in and have our panelists introduce themselves. All right, whoever wants to begin, I want to know where you're coming from, who you are, tell me about your Tiger, what year they are in school, and what their major is.
Okay, I'm Taryn Klein. Welcome to everybody. I am living in El Paso, Texas. I have a son, Reese, who is a soon-to-be senior. He's pre-med biological sciences. And then I have another soon-to-be Tiger in another week. That's William, and he will be a business major living in the business residential college. So very excited about that new move in and feel happy that my older son is where he is now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Zales. My wife and I, Montserrat, have our Tiger Gideon Zales. He's going to be a junior this year, entering in the fall semester, and his major is economics, and that's about it. So I'll let the next panelist go.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm Tracy O'Brien. I am from Pineville, Louisiana. My son, Evan O'Brien, is in his junior year, and his major is business management with a focus on strategic leadership.
My name is Tiambe Kuykendall. I'm from Houston, more clear, Missouri City, Texas. I have a junior. Her name is Caitlin Williams. She is a finance major, and 3 nieces, one that just graduated this year, and 3 that are still hanging on.
Greetings, my name is Daima Wheaton, and I hail from Southern California, El Segundo to be exact. I have a rising sophomore. Her name is Grace, and she is a communications major.
Hi everyone, I'm Stacy Jacobs. I live in the Chicagoland area, and I am mom to 2 Tigers, an almost sophomore who is pursuing elementary education right now, but it sounds like that's going to be changing. And I have a rising junior who is in information systems, and I just had to check my notes to get this right because it's a long one. Information systems and data sciences. I think I got that right. So happy to be here.
Hi, I am Marsha Bryant. I am from Connecticut, but it's summertime, so we're on Martha's Vineyard. So we're enjoying summer here. Welcome, everybody.
All right. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. I cannot wait to hear everything that you were going to share with our families. So, for the sake of time, let's jump right into it. So, the first question that I have for our panelists are, what were the critical conversations that you had with your tiger before they came to LSU that you think helped them navigate their independence? Let's begin with Tiambe.
That's because I had those hard conversations. So I basically told my daughter that she could she left Texas. So there's tons of schools that she could have chosen to attend in Texas. And so we had to have some conversations about her staying focused. I was never a really true helicopter parent, but I had to learn how to become a lawnmower parent freshman year. So I had to, move some things out of the way, go ahead of her and move some things out of the way, get her into a good place so that then she could take over her academic career in the spring of her freshman year, because she had to start to do those things. I'm not there. I'm not calling anybody. I do not call campus. If I call campus for something, it has to be something that I can just quickly ask Lindsay. She had to be able to take care of those things. So I think the biggest thing was her being an advocate for herself. No one could advocate for you like you. And so her just speaking up and making sure that she took care of her business. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just telling her that she could and that I'd be there to back her up. She would call and role play conversations with me sometimes before she would go and have a conversation with her TA or her advisor. We talk through it and then she'd go have that conversation. She did not rely on me to do that for her. So I think that's the biggest thing. Tell your child to advocate for themselves. No one is going to stick up for them like them.
Thank you. I love that y'all role play conversations. I think that's so awesome. Just a great way to prepare. Tracy, what about you?
Oh wow. Well, mine is not quite as good as that one. I think that's really good, Tiambe, that you did that. No, I think for my son, it was more about just I wanted him because I had a tiger that had already graduated. So I actually had two students at LSU, but um so he saw a lot with his brother, right? So he kind of knew what to do and what not to do. But for him, I just really wanted him to be himself and not feel that he had to conform to other people um to do things that were not what his core values were. And so that we had a lot of hard conversations about that and just making sure he knew that I was there for him, but he needed to stay true to himself.
Thank you for sharing. Stacy, what about you?
So, the very foundational principle that I shared was how important it is to stay safe and alive. And I know that sounds like kind of an obvious thing, but what that means is that they are down there, and for us, we're in the Chicago area, and they need to make the kinds of choices that are going to keep them safe and alive. And then after that, it's do great things for your community, do great things academically, and work hard. I know we've said it before, probably all of us, about certain things. It's you have one job. Your job is to be a great student down there and all of the things involved in that.
Thank you. We'll have one more answer. Taryn, how about you?
Well, I think I repeat or have said a lot of the same things that Stacy and Tracy and Tiambi have said. I think to add to that, I told him to take advantage of all the wonderful opportunities that LSU offers. Everything from academics to social to clubs to service to volunteering. And I told him that, this is your one opportunity. It's not like you're going to go and just enjoy yourself for a couple of years and then realize, oh, it's time to get serious. No, this is the time to come to school, do well, and take advantage of all the great opportunities. And by doing so, you're only going to grow. You're going to develop some great relationships with other people, and you'll continue to be a success.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, the next question that I have for our panelists is, why do you think it's important for students to take ownership of their college journey? And how have you seen your own student grow through their learning from mistakes or navigating challenges on their own? And has it been hard for you to watch this as a parent or supporter? Daima?
Thank you. I will say it has been hard because as a parent, I am so used to my role being my child coming to me and asking me for guidance. And while it's been hard, it's been absolutely beautiful because she is doing the very things I have taught her through modeling all of her life. And seeing that the hard part is realizing that sooner than later, she will not need me. And my life with her has been based on her needing me. But the beauty in that is my job is done and I've raised her well. What I can say is I haven't been hands-on because I don't necessarily need to be. When she needs me, she reaches out to me, and that's beautiful. And when I don't hear from her, she's either having way too much fun, so I need to check in, or she thinks she has it under control, and I still need to check in to just let her know that regardless, I'm always here.
Thank you. Eric, why do you think that it's important for your student to take ownership of their journey? And was that hard for you to watch as a parent?
Yes, it was because he's a single child, and it was difficult for us to let go and experience the empty nest so quickly, the empty nest syndrome so quickly. But we encouraged him to get involved as much as possible with all the resources that LSU has to offer. They have a ton of resources from academic to other areas, and we really we nudged him gently in the right directions. And we've seen him grow since a freshman. He's much more responsible now. He follows through on things on his own. You don't have to quote unquote nag him as when he was at home in high school. So it's been a journey, and it's really nice to see him grow. And we've seen really leaps and bounds since his freshman year.
Thank you. That's so incredible to hear. Marcia, what about you?
Yeah, it was hard, because their entire lives, every time they fell, we literally were reaching down to pick them up. So naturally, yeah, it is hard. Our son Miles is an only child, but he has grown a lot. One of the things that we told him is, reach out and use the resources that LSU has. And we've actually seen him do that. And it's a way that we've seen him grow. And so, I'm a college professor. So I tell my students all the time, it is essential that you take ownership of your education. I did it for myself. Everyone here did it as we walked through our journey. So I tell that to my students all the time. So it was, no different. I tell that to my son Miles because for growth, for development, for accountability. If they don't take the ownership, it's not going to happen. Right. And so that's what we're sending them there for. We want them to grow to be happy, productive people. And there's no way of doing that and growing into the professional that we are, they all hope to be in something one day without taking ownership of that and learning how to navigate your spaces and advocate for yourself and reaching out to the resources and all the things that the parents, Stacy and Taryn, everyone's saying here that they told their kids when they went there, that's all part of the taking ownership, of this journey and taking ownership of your education. And so, LSU is there to help. They're there to support. But, in the end, our children have to do it. And so I'm glad to hear that everyone's child is doing it because let me tell you something, parents, you're sitting out there like, oh, I don't know, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but they'll get it done. Trust me.
They absolutely will. Thank you for sharing that. And you really have such a great perspective, being a college professor and just echoing all those things to your students. All right, the next question that I want to know are, what are some tips that you all have for navigating and communication plans with your students? How often did you call, text, check in on your student? And is this something that you led or you kind of took a back seat and saw whenever your child was reaching out to you? Anything that you'd love to share? Stacy?
So my son's freshman year, before his younger sister was down at LSU, I definitely felt the sting on the day after he was moved in of having text messages go unanswered. He didn't answer the phone. It was sort of inconvenient for me to stop and say goodbye. And I thought, wow, this is really going to be rough. Eventually, once they got through that wonderful first week where they are totally engaged, and that's what they're supposed to be doing, he would reach out frequently enough. And oftentimes I could tell, and sometimes he would actually say that he missed me, he missed home, which is nice to hear. I would have to say, once my daughter was down there, I have the lucky situation of they can kind of be in touch with each other, and we can talk about more. There's another question that I think touches on this. I did have Life 360, so I was tracking where they were. Now, I have decided for this year that maybe I'm not going to do that, at least for the first day. We'll see how that all goes. I'll get back to you on that. But I think the text messages kind of saying, hey, are you okay? I see that you've been, fill in the blank for a while. Oh yeah, I'm with so-and-so doing this. We're doing some laundry. Okay, great. So I feel like staying in touch was initially an effort that I made. And once the kids were down there for a little while, they started reaching out to me more.
That's awesome. Tiambe?
I did not set any expectations because the only one that was going to be disappointed was me. So I did not say, I want to talk to you every day at this time or once a week, or I said nothing. I did not do anything at all. I was cringing on the inside because I was like, oh Lord, if you don't call me, I'm gonna die. But by taking that approach, she actually, and I can honestly say, has FaceTimed me every single day since freshman year, at least once a day. Sometimes it's multiple times a day, and I have to remind her I do have a job. I have to work. I remind her of that. But I love the fact that I don't have to set up a time. She calls, she wants me to see when she's getting dressed to go to a party or she's doing this, or sometimes I don't want to get ready with her. Like, but okay, girl, I'm gonna sit here and watch the video. Um, but I say I didn't set any expectations at all. And I think that it allowed her to see that she wanted to talk to me. I wanted her to want to talk to me and not feel obligated to talk to me. And I think that her relationship has truly blossomed and matured into my 20-year-old. Finally, I'm able to tell her that she's becoming my friend. She still thinks that she's been thinking she's my friend. You're becoming my friend now. And I love this relationship. I'm ready for her to go back though. It's time for her to go back and get back to FaceTiming me and not have to come in my room at 11 p.m. But no expectations for me.
Thank you for that. Tracy, I want to know from you, being a parent of a boy, I know that you're from Louisiana, but Pineville isn't that close to Baton Rouge. So how did you navigate that with your son?
Sure. So we're 2 hours, right at 2 hours from Baton Rouge to his apartment. So it's funny. I read some of these questions to him and was like, hey, how would you answer this based on your perspective? And we did not have expectations set either. And I asked him, do you feel like I called you too much whenever you were a freshman? And he was like, then I thought you did, but now I don't. And we talk more frequently. In fact, I just had to jump off this or, put myself on stop my video because he called me while we were doing this Zoom call. So I feel like he's now a junior. We talk on a more frequent basis. He calls me almost every day and comes home pretty frequently as well. Because again, it's only 2 hours. So we're very fortunate with that aspect. but yeah, we didn't have set expectations, and it was a little different because it was my second tiger to go, and his brother lives literally like a mile down the road from him, so he has somebody there if needed. But yeah, I mean, we just had no expectations, and he still wanted to talk to me. So
That's great to hear. All right, we'll jump into our next question. I want to know, was third-party proxy or FERPA, was that right for your family? Did you all have that, have access to it, or have one on file? And if you did have access to it, how did you manage those conversations and access? How often did you check in? And if it wasn't right for your family, you didn't have access to it, how did you build that trust in those conversations with your student? Eric?
Yeah, we didn't have access to, we didn't have one for ourselves. So I'm going to pass to another panelist if you don't mind.
Since you didn't have access to it, Eric, how did y'all navigate those conversations with your student and build that check-in with them about academics and grades?
I was his first semester. I was a little bit of a hard, you know what, guy. I told him, you know, we fully expect to see 3.0 and above, or else. Yeah, and it seemed to work. So, and then I lightened up because I really was worried. I was concerned because he was really geared to the big school atmosphere and maybe taking on a little too much, the partying too much. That was the feeling that we had. But we were pleasantly surprised. He did academically well his first semester. And then from there on in, we were less concerned about that. But again, he takes advantage of all the things that LSU has to offer, and he gets help if he needs it in any subject area. So we were pleasantly surprised.
Awesome, thank you. Marsha, what about you? What access did you have and how did you navigate that with your students?
For the first probably 8 or 9 weeks of the semester, Miles was only 17 years old. So we actually had to fill out so for parents out there, we actually had to fill out some forms and things, and we had to identify a person close by because he was 17 years old, and we were all the way in Connecticut. Once that expired, we took the approach of taking ownership of your own education and your own journey. So, what we did was relied on him to share his, grades with us, to share what he was doing. So we didn't we didn't do the proxy. We didn't sign up for that. And being a college professor, I'm very familiar with FERPA, so we just kind of let him know what that was. And then it was just, so we really relied on Miles to do the sharing in terms of what my grades are, kind of what's happening, what's going on, what I'm, classes I'm registering for, that kind of stuff. So we didn't use the proxy.
Thank you. Taryn, what about you?
So yeah, I use the third-party proxy and the FERPA, and really the only time I've actually taken advantage of that is when I've gone in to pay the fee bills, and then at the end of the semester, I would go in there, go to his schedule. Well, actually, 3 times. Go in there and print up his final grades for each semester, and then print up his next semester schedule, just so I have it in print. And it was just an easy way to do it. But everything's been an open book with me and my son and soon to be freshman, in that I have full access. I mean, I have their passwords to my LSU. I have everything. But out of respect of their privacy, honestly, in Reese's 3 years, I've never gone on to my LSU to look at grades, to look at anything that's going on, because he discusses everything with me. He usually calls me after every big test, tells me how he does, what's going on. So there's absolutely no need, and I've never had a reason to do that. But I do have the confidence that if ever there was a problem that I needed that access, or if I needed the school to be able to talk to me about something, though fortunately that has not happened, but I do have the quote authority, or the school has the authority to be able to talk to me.
Thank you. All right, we're going to do one more pre-selected question before we open up the Q&A to everyone. And that is, how did you and your student handle budgeting, spending, managing money over their first year? Did you give them allowance? How did that kind of work for your family? And then what were the financial conversations that you had with your student that helped with that transition? Tiambe, I see you shaking your head. I would love for you to share.
Oh goodness, this was rough. So she did really well the fall semester. She got her refund back. I did not budget. I didn't give her any money at all. Nothing extra did I have to send her at all in the fall. She really budgeted well. I don't know what happened and what aliens took over her body in the spring. Um, but she had to learn the hard way. I told her to stop ordering things and tell your students do not buy from vendors using Apple Pay. Because if something happens and they don't get the merchandise, they're not going to get their money back. And the bank will not honor Apple Pay in giving them their money back. She learned that the hard way and lost a pretty large amount of money on some shoes that she wanted. So I had to bite my tongue and she had to just sleep in that bed that she made and she needed gas money and she needed food. I knew that she was freshman year. You have a card, you can go to the dining hall to eat. I did not send more money and she had to just go without gas. So that meant she had to get up and get a ride to school until the next money came for her. And if y'all only know that was so hard, she's my only child. It was very hard for me not to swoop in and save the day, but I had to teach her a very hard lesson because I'd already told her not to order using Apple Pay and stop. What are you buying shoes for anyway? Because you don't even need them. So she learned that the hard way. Needless to say, sophomore year was a whole lot better. She made much better choices. And I know it's because she knew that a hard no from me truly meant no. And I'm so happy that I stood firm, although I was dying on the inside to just fix it. I didn't. And I'm so happy that I didn't because I've seen a different financial kid. I mean, she thinks she's a Kardashian, but that's a whole nother panel for us to talk about that. And the choices that she thinks that she of things that she needs for school. So I think that once you just set boundaries, it's really us that has to set the boundaries for them and just show them how to do it. And now she's paying rent. And so she knows if she spends all her money, there is no dining hall card to bail her out. So you can spend all your money and you're going to be hungry. I don't know what to tell you. So that's kind of pretty, I've had to do a little bit of hard parenting there with her. And we've had some financial conversations this summer. So just set the boundaries and just stick to it, even when it's really hard, just stick to it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Daima, what about you?
The money conversation is a very interesting one. I have to roll back a little bit to say initially Grace was set to attend school in California. And in the 11th hour, she came to us crying, my husband and I, saying she couldn't do it, that she needed to go to a real school. And by real school, I said, do you mean like with professors and books? And she said, no, with the football team. And I was like, we're about to lose our in-state tuition for a football team? But she really advocated for going to LSU, which then made our fees go up for her because now she was going out of state. With that being said, we had some real honest conversations about spending our money. And what that looked like was she needed to be responsible not only for herself while she was out there, but for her grades because she can come out of school debt free. However, we pay for the next semester after we look at the grades for the current semester. So it's a matter of, do you want us to pay? Do you want to pay? And, how are you being responsible with our money, which could then be you spending your money? In terms of her being there and spending excessive money, she didn't have that option. We gave her a set amount. And I will say, if she ran out of money, she didn't contact me. Now, she could have contacted my husband, which I probably would never know because he will send her whatever it is she wants. And so I'm assuming that they didn't for my peace of mind, but she's always been responsible with money. And if she had any overages, they were not excessive. And I'm extremely proud of her for that reason.
Thank you. We'll take one last answer from Stacy.
I was kind of hoping you wouldn't call on me. This is such a tough one. Wow, we are navigating it this summer. There has been a lot of back and forth about what is kind of my money and what is their money, because they're both working. So we're having those conversations. And I would say, if I could give any advice, it would be to remind freshmen that they really do have what they need on campus, and they really shouldn't have to be spending beyond that. So when you get the phone call that the food in the dining hall is the worst food ever, and that's why I had to order Uber Eats to the tune of $60 or whatever it is, that Kardashian syndrome feels alive and well. And there are certainly kids, maybe not your Tiger's roommate, but the two next door, they could very well have a big budget to do whatever they would like to do. And then the kids on the other side are absolutely there, taking advantage of everything on campus, never ordering DoorDash and Uber Eats. And so that reminder that LSU has set them up for success. I will admit that our agreement was, if you need essentials that you don't have, if you need paper towels, if you need Advil, something that maybe we didn't exactly budget for, I would order it through Target and have it delivered to campus. So it wasn't I have to walk to CVS and I'm paying a premium or whatever. So the short answer is, it is an ongoing conversation. And as the Tigers perhaps have jobs, my son started working sophomore year. I think my daughter hopefully will be working on campus sophomore year. That changes the equation as well, because then they are earning money. Is that spending money? That's something your family has to really talk about. Is that spending money, or is that to help cover essentials? So best wishes to all of us as we are on this journey making it happen. And this is obviously, it goes without saying, one of the most important things that they're learning at LSU, sort of by default, how to exist in the world with financial wellness. So
Thank you so much for that answer. I know that you know want me to call on you, but that was incredible, and I think really helpful feedback and wisdom to share. So now we're going to go ahead and open up the floor for you all to ask our panelists questions. We ask that you use the Q&A function to submit your questions for our team and our panelists to see. I'll go ahead and ask a few that we have already sitting in the chat and in the Q&A, so you can take your time thinking about your questions and submit them when you're ready. We'll get through as many as we can while we're here together tonight over the next about 15 and 20 minutes. All right, so the first question that it looks like we were asked is, how did you establish that communication check-in? Was it daily texting, setting a call once or once a week? Any helpful tips are welcome. Boys are not the chattiest, and they stopped sharing their tracking with their son to give them some independence and show full trust in him. So I think if any of our boy parents can speak to this, how did you set up that communication plan? How often did you check in? Did you have something in place like that?
Well, for me, my son, as a freshman, I didn't set up any expectations. I was just going to see how it played out. And in that first month or so of school, he would often call me between classes as he's walking through the quad or walking somewhere from one building to the next. He would just do a quick call in and would just want to know what I was doing, what his younger brother was doing. He just wanted to hear a quick update. And that was always great. And it didn't matter where I was or what I was doing. I'm a doctor, and so oftentimes I'd be in a patient's room and I'd see this call, and I had my son to a Harry Potter tune, so I knew it was my child. So that'd be the only time I'd look at my phone as I'm seeing a patient. And I'd say, hey, could you excuse me for 1 second? It's my freshman son away at college. And the patients were always so kind. And so just to talk to him for 1 minute, I think it gave him that little bit of confidence or good feeling. And then after about a month or two, then he would call me about 2 or 3 times a week, which was great. And so it just kind of played out like that. And from my regard, like I rarely would ever call him. If I needed to talk to him, I would text him knowing that he's busy. And I would say, hey, whenever you're free, it's nothing urgent, give me a call if I needed to tell him something. But I usually put it on his end, and he's been really good about it.
Great. All right, we're going to jump to our next question. They are asking, did any of your children join a fraternity or a sorority their freshman year with also having an on-campus job? Was this a lot for them to take on their freshman year?
I'm happy to answer that. Both of my Tigers they went Greek. My son rushed and joined a fraternity freshman year. My daughter joined a sorority freshman year. They did not have campus jobs freshman year. I will say that academically, something that I think a lot of parents are pleasantly, hopefully, surprised by is that there are standards and you have to achieve an academic level in order to be in good standing with your sorority and fraternity. And as it turned out, I think they both made really good choices. They are very competitive with their pledge class. In my son's case, his room in the fraternity house where he started living spring semester of last year was determined by his GPA. So he was incentivized to get the highest possible GPA because then he got to choose the best room in the fraternity house. So I don't have experience with the kids working and trying to manage the social aspects of Greek life and football and all of the things, even if they are not Greek. But I will tell you that in the case of Greek life and academics, it has ended up being a really positive thing for both of my Tigers.
Awesome. Eric, I saw you unmute. Would you like to share?
Yeah, our son of his freshman year joined Delta Chi. I wasn't thrilled about it because I didn't know. I knew what I knew, and that was mostly from Animal House, the movie, growing up. So that's, I explained to him that's fine, but academics come first. And then once again, I reiterated about minimum 3.0. And as Stacy was pointing out, they do have academic standards that they have to upkeep. I found that it was a great way for him to socialize and keep in touch. And he really seems to like it, and he enjoys his fraternity brothers. He did not work his freshman year. I don't know if that's a lot. That obviously depends upon your Tiger, whether or not they're going to be able to handle all of that. But I found that it did occupy his time, but in a good way. So we were pleasantly pleased with him joining the fraternity.
Great. We have a parent that is asking, what airport do you recommend to travel to and from LSU for any of our out-of-state families?
I can follow up on that again if you don't mind. We're from New Jersey. I didn't mention that in my when I introduced myself. So yeah, we go back and forth. We found that New Orleans suits us fine, just fine. And I saw the question in the chat box. They do provide a shuttle around holidays, approximately 2 to 3 days before a major holiday, and 2 or 3 days after a major holiday. So there is a bus service, and or there's taxis and Ubers, and they're not, believe it or not, they're not that bad price wise. I think it was from New Orleans Airport to LSU is approximately $100 cab ride and a little bit less for an Uber. So it wasn't that bad, and they do offer a bus service around all the major holidays also, which I would strongly recommend taking advantage of.
Eric, unfortunately, we did discontinue the holiday shuttle a few years ago, but
Right.
I love to echo the Tiger Mama Transport. She is an incredible resource. She has a great Facebook page that all of you that are looking for a shuttle service that is not provided by LSU, you can check her out. She is awesome.
We
Anyone?
use Baton Rouge. It's easy, it's convenient. So you have that option as well. So I think either one, New Orleans or Baton Rouge.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, how do you all handle fall break? Do out-of-state students typically come home? Also, as they're getting older and more acclimated to LSU, do you feel like they don't come home as much? How have you handled that as your Tigers have gone through their journey so far?
So
I
I'd
can
like to say,
go. Sorry, Terry.
oh,
Karen,
okay,
sorry.
real quick. I think for the first year or two, my son came home, and then it's funny because I just brought this up with him a couple days ago. I said, "Hey, do you want me to get flights?" And he said, "Hey, you know what? Me and my friends, we already talked about. If it's okay, we're going to go to to the beach in Florida on 30A by Watercolor and Seaside, which is a beautiful area." So I said, "Oh, that's fantastic." So uh, that's how it's been for us.
Thank you, Tiambe.
I was just gonna say in the fall, coming home is based around football. Just being honest. Thanksgiving break is always cut short because there typically is a game on the weekend following. And so she always goes back. It's not like I'm staying home the whole break. She went home. I mean, she went back to Baton Rouge early. Her having an apartment is not the deal breaker because she's been home all summer. I don't understand. Like I'm paying rent and she at my house. That's again, we'll talk about that later. Um, but in the spring, though, they do plan trips. Like Taryn said, they've already are talking about what their spring trip is going to be, and even the fall break, not Thanksgiving, but just another fall break. She hasn't come home for fall break yet. So I don't anticipate her doing that this year either. They have taken a trip and gone somewhere else every time. So yeah, don't rush to buy in advance plane tickets for times when you think they're going to want to come home. And then also wait around exam time to truly know when their schedule is going to be before you start to buy those plane tickets to come home. I don't encourage it. I went away to school, so I encourage her. I want her to see other places, and I get excited when she wants to go other places because I don't anticipate her moving back to Texas when she graduates. So I want her to experience other places with her friends that are from other places. So I do. I encourage it. Um, so sometimes I'm sad, but I can't tell her that I'm sad though. So don't tell her that I get sad when she don't come home a lot because then she'll try to stay longer.
Thank you for that. We have someone asking their son will not have a car right away. Will it be super hard for them? Does he need a car? Are there shuttles or any services that will take them to nearby stores? If any of you want to share if your student didn't bring their car to campus their first year.
I would love to share. So, again, we are from the Chicago area. My son, freshman year, did not have a car. Started saying that he definitely needed a car second semester, but I think that was really because he wanted a car. Could he have survived without a car? Absolutely. And I will tell you, and our new Tiger families will experience this. It's no fault of LSU's, and I guarantee is happening at every college campus. It does feel a little bit like it's bumper cars in those parking lots. And when I see parents post about, oh, my son's car was, completely sideswiped in the parking lot in front of the dorm, I think, yeah, that's what happened. So I felt really good about the decision to not have him have a car. Freshman year, it was helpful to us once we had two Tigers down there. We could justify it a little bit more, justify the expense. And obviously, talking to them, it bears repeating that if you have a car, then that's a whole a whole level of concern as far as safety and not drinking and driving, not letting someone else get behind the wheel, understanding that driving is different in Louisiana than it is here. The speed limit feels like it's about 100 miles per hour too fast for my taste, but maybe that's just me. So I think the kids, yet again, they will find friends who have cars. And even if they don't, they really, really do not need cars.
I have to chime in. I agree with that. My daughter does not have a car. She did not her freshman year and will not her sophomore year. And they do find friends, and there are a lot of places they can walk. There are a lot of places on campus and directly off campus that they can go shop, eat, anything that they want if they aren't doing that on campus. So I'm with you, Stacy. Well, at least for the first year, there was no car. And for us, for the second year, no car as well. She'll get us the third year, I'm sure.
And if I can do some follow up on that, my son, who's about to be a senior, he had no car his first year, no car his second year, third year. He said, gosh, I would really love it. So, yes, I gave him a car his third year, but he did great without a car the first 2 years. Definitely not needed, but certainly I'm sure the kids love it when they have it.
Are there any buses that take your students to Walmart, any local grocery stores? Did any of your Tigers take advantage of the Tiger Trail system? If you could tell me a little bit about that. Okay, so for any Tigers that aren't bringing their cars to campus, we do have the amazing Tiger Trail system here at LSU. It does bring them to local places around campus. There's Walmart off campus that'll take them to a CVS and places close by. So if they ever do need to get out of town and get somewhere, they can't find a ride with friends or anything, they do have that service to take them off campus and explore that. All right, the next question that we have is, has anyone had a student that studied abroad? And if so, how was their experience? Did any of our panelists have a student that studied abroad?
So my son is part of the Honors College, and last spring did a very short, I would call it kind of a micro study abroad that was absolutely extraordinary. He still talks about it. So with one of his classes through the Honors College, they went to Berlin over spring break, and he's concerned, as a lot of our kids are, about taking a full semester to study abroad, wondering if that's going to cause him to fall behind. Is he going to miss his girlfriend in South Carolina too much? Is that all going to work out okay? That was a really great program. So we do have a family council member. I know Karma, her son is in Paris for the fall semester, and I am so excited to check in with her at our next meeting and hear how that is going. But unfortunately, I do not have more experience than that. Really wonderful. I think it was an 8-day trip, if I'm not mistaken, to Germany. That was just awesome.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take one more question before we wrap up our Q&A. And that is, how soon did you all start looking for off-campus housing? If you have Tigers that live off campus now in apartments or in the area, how soon did you start looking for off-campus housing?
Like I said, I have nieces who were already there. So I had two nieces that were already there, and I kind of followed my sister's lead on how she did things. And so when I came freshman year for fall family weekend, she told me about some places that she liked and or that people lived. And um, I was there from like Thursday to Sunday. So at various times, I would go by the places that she liked to see, what the traffic was like at certain times of the day. And then she narrowed it down to her top three. And I was able to visit them while I was there so I could at least get an idea of where she wanted to live. Ultimately, it was going to depend on price and that kind of thing, but I kind of let her make the choice because she had to live there and not me. And I can honestly say I'm very pleased with Park Place is where my daughter lives. And we signed her lease actually November of her freshman year. And because I didn't need it stressing me out because I know my kid. So I needed for my own self sanity. I signed that lease. I said, yes, let's just go ahead and do it and get it out of the way and done with, so that I would not have that to worry about in the spring. And if she would forget or she like would go on and not even be thinking about it, thinking I was going to take care of it. So I just went ahead and said, okay, yeah, let's just do it. And I'm so happy I did because we were not stressed at all about where she was going to stay and what that was going to look like. And we were able to plan accordingly. But that's what worked for us. Um, it's not, I mean, housing is housing. We know what that's like. So I think the earlier the better, honestly.
I second that also, Tiambe. The earlier the better. However, for various reasons, a lot of these private residencies do somehow pressure the kids into thinking that they've got to get it done like now. Like I saw in the chat box, October. I think that's a little bit too early for the upcoming year, meaning this October. But our son stayed at Park Place also last year. He had a great time. The sooner the better, but don't feel like you got to be pressured into doing it a year in advance. That's really not the case. But however, they're gonna make your student, your tiger, feel that way. And when your son or daughter come to you and say, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, don't let that get to you, because there is plenty of housing, and you will get it. And like Tiambe said, the sooner the better, but don't be pressured into, for example, I think October is way too early. You don't have to be thinking about housing for next year in October. Like, yes, you can look around, get an idea, but you got plenty of time.
All right.
You want to
Thank
chime
you.
in?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I want to chime in because I know that, especially when you start looking at social media, that LSU gets a bad rap regarding housing. And my experience has been incredibly pleasant in terms of the communication. They are realistic, and realistic in the sense of there are timelines and there are things that they don't know at the, let me rephrase that. There is a period where they don't know, but when they know, they communicate with you and you can follow up. And I've just found that that has eased a lot of my burdens. And I want to go on record to say that I'm quite pleased with housing because you can always reach someone. You can always ask questions. You can ask them to follow up. And to me, that being an out of state parent who is not necessarily ready for her child to be off campus, um, having someone to talk to kind of walk me through things or help me explore other options since I'm so far for that.
Thank you for that. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the Q&A in the panel here. I know that there are questions that we didn't get to, and we would still love to give you answers. And so I'm going to show our contact information on our last slide. Please email our office. We want to get you those answers and get you that assistance. But I want to thank all of our panelists for spending some time with us and sharing all your wisdom and all of your advice with all of our first-year families that tuned in tonight. Thank you all so much. Our hope is that everything that you shared will have everyone feeling confident and ready for the road ahead as this time is quickly approaching. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Right. Before we close out the webinar, I want to share a few reminders and some upcoming events that we have for our first year families. The first one being our first year first aid event that is going to be happening during move-in weekend. We have all the dates and times listed on the screen there for you, but this is giving incoming families, incoming first year families, the time to come and visit us on the first floor of the LSU Student Union in the Go Center. This will give you the opportunity to take care of any last minute needs that you or your tiger has before to make sure that they have everything in order and they're going to be set up for success for their fall semester. So we'll share some more information with you soon about what offices will be present, anything that we can get to during that time. But new family association members can come by to pick up their membership packets. If you haven't signed up for family association just yet, you can do that during first year first aid. And then we'll also be having our awesome LSU family t-shirts for purchase. We have mom, dad, brother, sister, grandparent, and uncle, cousin, the whole family, everyone that you can think of for $20 cash or check. If you just want to come by and say hello, we would love to meet you and connect with you and hear about your move-in experience. Also during move-in weekend, our office is going to be hosting some sweet send-offs for our Tiger families to give you some time to take a break from the heat, enjoy a cold treat, and mingle with some families that we have here on campus. This will be an opportunity for you to take some pictures at our photo booth, especially if you have our awesome LSU family t-shirts. We'd love for you to come stop by, show those off, and show off your spirit. We'll also give you an opportunity to sit down, write a letter to your Tiger, and this will be delivered to your student their second week of classes. And so come stop by and see us. We'd love to meet you and see you there. And lastly, we would love for you to join our family association and stay connected and stay in the know of everything that we offer through our office of parent family programs. So if you haven't joined yet, the deadline to register for priority registration for a fall family weekend is August 17th. So we have several other benefits that you get alongside that priority registration, like 10% off at the bookstore and the Cook Hotel. We'll give you access to events like Spring Family Fling and more. So you can see all the benefits and how to join by scanning this QR code, or you can visit that website at lsu.edu/join. It is a one-time $200 donation, and it's good for your Tiger's entire undergraduate journey here at LSU. And so this donation can also be made in installments, and it is tax deductible. So thank you to everyone who has already joined our family association, and we look forward to continuing your involvement and partnering with you. Lastly, we have our contact information. I just want to thank you all for tuning in tonight for our first Tiger Family Talks of the fall semester. We are so ready to welcome you all to campus and support you through this transition alongside your Tiger. We want to meet you, we want to get to know you, and learn about how we can best support you. So please reach out to us with any questions or concerns or anything that was left unanswered